Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RotoViz Best Ball Show. It is a live stream edition with myself, Colm Kelly. I'm joined by my co-host here on the show, Zachary Krueger, who you can follow on Twitter at ZK_FFB. And we can also see a guest down the bottom of the screen today. It is Fantasy Pros' very own Derek Brown, who you can follow on Twitter at Dbro_FFB. And Debro, it's been a little while coming. It's some of the back and forth on Twitter. This had to happen. This had to come at some point. So welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank y'all for having me. Look, we've been in the DMs. We've been talking, hashing this out. Zach and I basically DM way too much. But I'm glad to be on the show. And really, I'm just going to try to push it back against Zach because I know he's going to try to get us to go RB, robust RB. I don't know if I'm going to go that direction or let him have that happen today, guys.
So we'll see what does happen. I'll welcome Zach in now as well. We have been talking strategy before this show. I do think that we'll have a fun approach. We may reveal our approach as the show goes on. But Zach, how are you feeling as we get ready to draft today? Are you confident about us being able to manage those picks while we're on the clock? I know that's an ongoing theme over the last couple of weeks.
This show in particular, I think, is going to be less about managing the clock and more about managing Debro and whatever it is. Whatever it is he's going to be saying and suggesting throughout the course of the show. So I think if we can keep him under control, the rest will follow. I am not intimidated by the clock. We have mastered that in recent weeks. It's just keeping Debro in check here and making sure we get this team built the right way.
Yeah, so we are going
off the rails immediately. That's right.
It feels like this one could go off the rails. We're going to bring in some sound effects, so just in case we're under pressure on the clock and those picks aren't happening. So today we have a little bit of Twilight Zone music for when those picks are under pressure. So we have to make sure that Zach, this is to help Zach his heart rate over the course of today's show.
That's the running back dead zone sound. Is what that sounds like.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll avoid that today. But when we are starting off, Debro, you're working over with Fantasy Pros. Lots of great content coming out. My good buddy Pat Fitzmaurice is over there as well. A great team assembled over at Fantasy Pros. What have you got coming out over the coming weeks or the coming months, I guess, as we get ready for true fantasy football season here?
Oh, the ramp up hot best ball season is here. And I mean, look, guys, we've been going through a ton of content. Yes, Fitz has been crushing it, man. He's both from a content and editorial side, he's absolutely amazing. Love working with that man. But as far as the site goes, I mean, look, the best ball draft kit is live on the site right now. Redraft kit is live as well. And honestly, it's a ton of information. Player profile, our strategy, our perfect drafts, and outside of all of the kit news, for me, I mean, I'm going through a team series, and a lot of what I wanted to do with this is basically go through all 32 teams and give you actionable nuggets, stats, and basically why I think they're important outside of all the... Come on, guys. At this point of the offseason, we've heard the same 15, 20, 30 stats basically be rehashed, washed, redone, and represented. So I'm trying to take this and tackle this from a different perspective and give people a little bit of like some wrinkles that they haven't heard yet and how this could affect all 32 teams this year.
Yeah, it's a busy time. Like you go from that portion before the NFL draft, we're going through the prospects, and you kind of talk a little bit of maybe dynasty before that. Then you get into the draft. Then after the draft, you reevaluate where the players have landed. But then over the last 4 to 6 weeks, the dust has kind of started to settle. So we're really waiting for those camps to open, for depth charts to start to get into proper order. But it is certainly a very fun time. And what I've said over the last couple of weeks is usually this portion is like the quiet time, but this year it just was 365 days of the year. It didn't really slow down at all. So content coming in all directions at all times. But yeah, great to see all the different faces around the fantasy football community progress and doing well, and good to see your journey as well. So we are going to talk a little bit about strategy here. We don't know our draft slot yet. We will be jumping in. Zach will be setting us up in a couple of moments. You're the guest, Debro. What are you looking for? You joked about Zach and his love for running back, but where are we going here?
The only running back I like is Craig Reynolds.
Hey, This is a good place. I'm in a happy zone.
Which is a player who I know Debro made up because there hasn't been a running back in the NFL named Craig since the 70s. But nevertheless, I know he wrote an article about some guy named Craig Reynolds.
Oh my God, dude, you know my love for all the last round running backs and all of these guys. I mean, come on, we talk about all these guys. You had to listen to me talk about Quadre Olson, Ramadre, Rashad Penny all last offseason. Turned out pretty decent for us outside of Quadre Olson. But honestly, really what this comes down to, guys, is all my best ball action so far. It comes down to not only building a portfolio, but looking at this team perspective. It's where you drafting and kind of how the board falls to you. And, so outside of like a handful of running backs in the first round, a lot of my action is wide receivers, and really how those first few picks kind of dictate what you're looking at as far as like, because for me, it's first rounds back. Like how am I going to build either correlations and stacks into the middle and later rounds of these drafts? So those first few picks, the wheels are turning, man. It's like, okay, who are they playing in week 15, 17? How can I layer this with whatever quarterback is attached to this wide receiver, this tight end? How the build is kind of shaping up.
And you mentioned the only running back you like, Zach, but truly the only running back you do have deep, deep love for is Brian Robinson. That is the true running back here.
Yeah, I have enough Brian Robinson that I actually received an invite to his family reunion for next year. They've adopted me into his family. I am officially not only a Brian Robinson truther, but an actual descendant from the Brian Robinson lineage. So I look forward to drafting more Brian Robinson as the offseason progresses. I cannot get enough of him. As a matter of fact, some say I have too much of him.
Yeah, and it feels like I think we have pretty much on these streams, we may have 100% off him. So we'll see how we get on today. But looking forward to jumping into it. I think it is probably about that time to pull up the old Underdog Fantasy website and try and get us into a draft here. So we'll set it up. It is the Best Ball Mania 3. If you are playing over at Underdog Fantasy, you can use the code RotoViz, and that will get you a 100% sign-up bonus up to $100. But the other plug I'm going to give at this moment in time is myself and Zach do the RotoViz Best Ball show. We have been running it now pretty much around about a year, but we actually started up last year as a mini series. We jumped in then this year to post those shows as a main channel, and then we've been doing content throughout the off season on those, and then we've had some special guests on to do drafts. I've done some shows with guests and writers on rotoviz.com. So subscribe to the RotoViz Best Ball Show podcast feed and get all those shows once they come out. And have to say, we've seen the explosion of best ball over the last couple of months, particularly over the last couple of years. And, it's fun to do this content. We also see Derek has brought in additional special guests for those watching on video.
She couldn't wait until the next puppy's released. She had to hop in there. This is basically my little sidekick most of my days. She usually sits in my lap while I'm doing shows or content. So a little peek behind the curtains, the thing that most people don't see on camera most times.
Yeah, we're always trying to keep, we talked about this before we started, about the perception being reality. And sometimes people don't see what goes on behind the scenes, but this is a nice sneak peek in as the dog joins us in here. And maybe that will help us in this draft. It can be a good luck charm. How are we looking, Zach, here as we look for two more people to fill the draft? Is that where we're going? Just the question, I guess, when we're looking for those two people to jump in here as we kind of kill some time. Draft slot that we're looking for here. Are we looking for late round? Are we looking for an early round slot? My favorite is kind of that 5-6 range generally. But today, I think we could push out an interesting team from kind of between 6 and 8, I think. But anything before that, I don't really want 1 or 2 based on our specific plan of action here today.
Debro, where do you prefer to draft right now?
Honestly, I think one of my favorite spots is getting in like the 4 or 5 spot where I've got the nice little conundrum of Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. That's one of my favorite spots. That or 7-8. Somewhere towards the end of the round where maybe I get if I'm gonna go hero running back and stuff. My favorite target at that spot is usually Dalvin Cook. Where are we at?
We're at the 101, so I already have Craig Reynolds queued up.
No, we're going with the plot. We're still doing it. We're still doing it, are we?
Yeah. Let's go.
So I guess the question here is, because I would be I mean, we're going to literally be showing our ass the second we make our first pick. But nevertheless, I would not be against going a direction other than Cooper Kupp. Anybody else?
I think I would probably still lean Cup. I have a lot of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but I'm open to going. I'll let the guest make that final call.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with us going with Cup here. I honestly don't have a lot of exposure to Cup because he's in a weird spot. Like he either goes like you need a top 3 pick to get him. He doesn't usually fall past like 3 usually. So you're basically like, okay, am I inside the top 3 and I'm gonna get Cup, or you're basically out of luck. So I'm fine with going Cup here.
Okay, so before we do it, we'll let the clock run down, but I'll give you just one chance if you just want to back out. Now is your chance. We can take Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey at the 101, or we can. I hope we don't have anyone here that's going to back out, but anyone want to back out?
Never.
Nah, man, full steam ahead. I like McCaffrey. Like if I was gonna go, a lot of times he is my 101. But to be honest, when you get to looking at the week 15 through 17 correlations for the Panthers, I mean they're okay. They're not fantastic. Like you have the Bucks in there, but then outside of that, it's a bunch of other kind of nastier teams. So even if we're looking at building like playoff week correlations and stuff, McCaffrey's matchups aren't exactly sexy though.
And we've kicked something off here because we're 5 picks. We're on pick 5 here at the moment, and Jonathan Taylor hasn't gone off the board. So we've kicked the draft off with Cooper Kupp, who we took, then Justin Jefferson, then Christian McCaffrey, then Jamar Chase, and then on the clock is Jonathan Taylor goes off the board. But you have to say, if you're at spot 5 and you get Jonathan Taylor, you are pretty happy, because I would take Taylor as my 101 over McCaffrey, and in the majority of cases. So I think the drafter in 5 is going to have. He may destroy the rest of his draft, but he's starting off pretty nicely there. Stephon Diggs goes off. So we have a lot of wide receivers going off. Something that I've been cognizant of this year, we've talked about it a lot on RotoViz Overtime, is when you're drafting at the 101 or the 102 and you do go running back, a lot of the time, there is quite interesting options at running back at the 2 and 3 slot. Sometimes the wide receivers aren't going to make it back, and it's going to be interesting in this draft now with how the teams have started with it. Hopefully by the end of the round, it balances out to normal ADP for the first 12 picks, but you could be in a spot where you don't get the wide receiver start that you want if you are going for a 0 RB build, if you don't take a wide receiver in those first 2 picks, which can sound crazy to think about. But who are some of your favorite targets, Derek, when we're getting back here to the back end of the second round?
It depends on what wide receivers are falling to us. Right now we've got it looks pretty like this is kind of shifted. We saw a lot of wide receivers to begin, a lot of running backs here. Second round, Zach, who's at the top of the queue right now? Because usually I'm kind of leaning on the queue for a lot of these.
Yeah, so I have it hidden right now. Let me refresh it here. We'll take a look.
Top secret.
Yeah, so we don't get sniped, but I threw.
We're probably gonna get sniped anyway. You saw those wide receivers go. It's a RotoViz room, baby.
Yeah, but I know you like Mike Williams, so I went ahead and put him on there just on the turn. That would also give us some correlation with Cooper Kupp. T. Higgins is one of my favorite targets. Obviously, if somehow Mark Andrews fell to us, I think we have to take him with one of these 2 picks. But any other leans that you have as it pertains to wide receivers here?
So the guy that I keep gravitating to, and honestly, I think he can make it back to us fairly easily, is AJ Brown. I love AJ Brown. I think that people are really underestimating still how much the Eagles can pass this year. And the reason I like AJ Brown as well is that, guys, we've seen him in 2 or 3 seasons. He's been near the top of the league in touchdowns, but his red zone role has sucked. So basically, you're talking about a player who has shown us he can break off big plays. He can score the touchdowns. They're going to feed him this year. They paid him as an alpha wide receiver. So if Philly throws more, I really think that a lot of people don't look at it this way. I think A.J. Brown is in for the most targets of his career, which is not saying a ton because he's had like 105, 106. But I think he gets into the 140 range. And I think if you lump that in with the touchdown progression that we could see, as well as his efficiency, which has been ridiculous, I really think he's a dark horse candidate for wide receiver 1 overall.
Yeah, I can agree with everything you said there in terms of like anyone who's listened to these shows recently or any of my podcasts. I'm probably too hyped on AJ Brown. I think we're right on board with that. Now, there's one pick to go, so hopefully that doesn't happen. My dream scenario halfway through this round was that we would get 2 players from the group of T. Higgins, AJ Brown, and the one that's after going off the board, and Deebo Samuel. But we have an option here to go back to back. So if you want to line up AJ Brown to be that first pick, and then we'll ask Debro who he's looking at out of those kind of other names that I mentioned. I think, like for me at this point, it would obviously Zach mentioned Mike Williams. I wouldn't be against that pick, but I would be going Higgins over Williams. But again, that's quite close.
See, for me, it would be AJ Brown and Big Mike here. That'd be my 2 pick. And honestly, for part of that's looking at the Week 17 correlations, you have the Rams and the Chargers playing. So I mean, that game is going to have a massive total. You know, it's going to be over 50. It's going to be pace up. It's going to be fireworks. So I honestly love setting up that Week 17 correlation.
No, the Week 17 definitely bumps that over the line in terms of your argument. I try and be nice when the guest is on. I try and let them roll with the picks. So I'm not going to go too bad, but I was just on that there. I couldn't believe when it was 1 pick away and we had 4 wide receivers who I would just jump at taking. So, between Samuel, Brown, Williams, who you mentioned, and T. Higgins, I'm just trying like between the different drafts to get as much exposure to those guys as possible. So yeah, really, really pleased to start off here with Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, and Mike Williams. Interesting. I'm wondering if the team in second is in the chat or watching, and they started Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill. So we've a bit of competition right there at the turn. And I think from this point forward, anyone, when they're making their picks from 2 or 3 picks away from us, they're going to be thinking, yeah, there's no chance these wide receivers are going to make it back to us. So we'll see how that starts to play out. But the other interesting note, and you mentioned Mark Andrews, if he got back to us, Zach, well, Mark Andrews went at the 204. That was 1 pick ahead of Travis Kelce at the 205. I love Mark Andrews, but I still don't think I'm going and taking him ahead of Travis Kelce. How do we feel about that? Again, I don't think it's outrageous, but I still think that if Kelce's available to you there, you probably take Kelce.
I think it's insane, personally. I mean,
I'm too nice.
I do. I think it's insane. Like, I think you're looking at median target projections. There's no way that Andrews out targets Kelce. Like, I can't foresee that at all. Much less you look at the composition of their offenses. There's no way that I don't really have a lot of Mark Andrews unless I'm going for a Lamar Jackson stack. I really don't have hardly any Mark Andrews this year. I feel like when we get to a lot of these expensive tight ends outside of Travis Kelce, with Mark Andrews especially, it really feels like we're point chasing. Like we're chasing last year's results. And honestly, I would rather not do that. And I would rather just say, okay, who are the tight ends that we can project that could take the Mark Andrews leap this year? And that's not being baked into where they're drafting. Where you're drafting Mark Andrews, you're hoping and praying that he does exactly what he did last year. If he doesn't do that, he's probably failing for you.
Yeah, and I think sometimes in drafts like this, when you see the split then between where he goes, Kyle Pitts is just after going off the board at the 310, which I think is a solid pick there at that point. But then you're also looking at, Kittle, Waller, who are, not that far off, I don't think, when we're looking at the difference to a Mark Andrews. So Zach's pulling up some of the splits here from Andrews, if you want to jump through those.
Only thing I wanted to pull up real quick here, out of split on the right-hand side is the Tyler Huntley experience. And his targets jumped by nearly 3 targets a game when Lamar Jackson was out. I just kind of wanted to throw that up there real quick because I do think that was obviously a huge factor toward for Andrew's success last season was the fact that he got a quarterback who could run a little bit less than Lamar, and they were throwing in a ton of games and they were losing. So I think that the Tyler Huntley thing kind of also helped drive up Andrew's overall target share. And I don't know if enough people are factoring that in right now. So I am taking some of Mark Andrews, but it's not something I feel particularly good about. I think it's more of it could happen sort of deal. But the guy I'm drafting a lot of, as probably both of you guys at this point in time, is Dalton Schultz. Colm hates it. Debro loves it. But Dalton Schultz is my guy who I think has a potential to take another step forward this upcoming season.
I wasn't going to mention his name yet, Zach, because I have the fear of God in me right now that he's going to get sniped from us. Like,
if anyone else wants to draft him, just take him. I have a couple of backup tight ends that we can take after that point. But no, as I joke, I do think that the Ravens would be smart to get those 3 extra targets a game going the way off Mark Andrews and continue that this year. But some comments coming in the chat as well. When we talked about that last pick, you talked about Mike Williams, and I think there is a real possibility he's the wide receiver 1. Ben Gretsch talked about it on Stealing Bananas a couple of weeks ago about Keenan Allen's profile for targets and so on. So I think we're in an interesting spot there. I'm not drafting Keenan Allen pretty much at all this year, but we are getting closer to our pick. We are a couple of picks off here. Who are we starting to target? Waller has gone off the board. We do I like to get that elite tight end. We've mentioned Dalton Schultz. We'll see what we say about that in a couple of rounds time maybe. But who are we hoping to get here as we look back again?
We're losing everybody, so give us some guys.
Well, you have Jerry Jeudy in the queue. I'm quite happy to get Jerry Jeudy. I don't really want to pay up for the quarterback as high as we have, but we're on the clock and we have a possibility to get Justin Herbert, who I'm not against that either, but what are we feeling here? We have 19 seconds.
I'm either going Justin Herbert or I want to go Lamar Jackson, Rashad Bateman, and stack them up.
Ooh.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Jackson Bateman?
Yeah.
Yep, Jackson Bateman.
All right. Let's do that.
The reason that
Sorry, Jerry. Sorry.
I love Bateman this year. I just think that people are overlooking what he was able to do in the small sample size last year. But in terms of the underlying metrics, I think that he's going to be in a real big spot this year. We talked about Mark Andrews, and I do think a lot less people are going to be stacking Lamar and Bateman. They're going to be trying to target from the tight end side. So I'll let you go though, Derek. You kind of made the call there. I think that the LA Chargers stack is going to be quite common when it comes to the teams that progress, and you're trying to be a little bit different when you get into those playoffs, if you make it to those playoffs. And I think we're going to see a lot of teams with Mike Williams and Herbert there. So having something like Lamar and Bateman, I think, takes us away from that.
Well, and the other thing about it is I love the Chargers offense for a few different reasons. One, I love Ben's call, and I've been out there in the social media streets, and people hate it. They absolutely hate it when you say Mike Williams can outscore Keenan Allen.
I don't think there's a doubt. I don't think there's a single doubt in my mind.
For me either. And that's why I've got all Mike Williams, and I legit, I think I have 5% Keenan Allen right now. His profile screams he's slowing down. And that's not a player that I want to be drafting. And I really think we get a full season of Mike Williams when he started out the year just blowing doors off. And if that happens, it's Yahtzee. But the reason that I wanted to kind of shift us to Baltimore here is because you can get so much easy exposure late to the Chargers. You can go Isaiah Spiller. You can go Gerald Everett if you wanted to go on the Josh Palmer train. But
you need to keep it quiet.
I'm just saying, man, you can get exposure to this awesome offense and get your exposure without having to take Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Whereas we go with Lamar Jackson, stack's done. You skinny stack it with Rashad Bateman and you're done. I don't care about Prochet. I don't care about Devin Duvernay. I don't care about any of these other wide receiver 3, 4 punt returner guys. I don't care about them.
The other thing I'll say is when we're looking at Lamar Jackson, I'm happy to just take, and this always sounds bad, but naked Lamar Jackson, I'm happy just to go Lamar and not have him paired up. Whereas if you're going with Herbert and Williams, you're kind of really needing both of those guys to hit. But I think when you go with Lamar and Bateman, Lamar can just be the quarterback one by himself. He can be the running back one as well, I suppose, when we throw that in. So interesting, though, to get him at that point. It was the third quarterback off the board, but it was over a round and 2 picks after Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen had gone off the board in round 3. So we get him in the last pick of round 4. And I do think both Herbert and Jackson there, Herbert going off the board 3 picks later, are very good values at that particular point. Since that, we've had Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts go off the board. So kind of going in a little bit of a different order maybe than we would expect, but the same guys going off around the same ranges. We've had a little bit of a run here on wide receivers. I would have taken Jerry Jeudy at that point as well if we hadn't stacked it up. But after that pick, then we have DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Allen Robinson, Brandon Cooks, Juju Smith-Schuster, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Darnell Mooney, Elijah Moore, and Russell Gage. And then you can hear a sigh there from the guys. That is Dalton Schultz after coming off the board. So pour one out there for the guys here as we listen into the podcast. We'll see who we can get later on in the draft, or maybe even in this round at the tight end position. But see, at that point when we take Bateman, he really is for me at a tier. Him and Judy are above the rest of those guys that I just named off. I think that is that's where there's a real tier split, and it becomes pretty flat for me in this particular range. Who outside of Dalton Schultz, who we can no longer get, is some of the preferred targets here. We'll go to the queue first. Zach, who have you pulled up in the queue so far?
Nobody good. Let's see what we have here.
That's what we call a professional transition.
Yeah. So I went ahead and got Devonta Smith in there just because other Eagles wide receiver. I like Devonta Smith. I kind of prefer him over AJ Brown just at price. I have Drake London. That would be a Baltimore correlation. Also, Thomas, if you think that he might actually play more than one game this season, he correlates nicely with Philly. TJ Hawkinson, just because I know Colm needs that for his life. And then Dallas Goedert, another Philly stack, and then open to anyone else that anyone else is seeing here.
So we'll go first, Debro. If there's anyone that you would put into that list, there's one name there that's not is in the list and should be the clear target here. But we have 2 back-to-back picks. So anyone else that we're seeing that you like, and remember in the stipulation that we talked about before the show also.
Oh yeah. So for me, Zach, I'm blanking on week 17. I know Baltimore gets Pittsburgh. I'm blanking on 15 and 16 right now.
15 and 16 for Baltimore. They get Cleveland and Atlanta. So that was that was the other reason why I have.
I mean, for me, I like Drake London. I think he stands out here. Moving down the board a little bit.
With London, the only other wide receiver that's really standing out for me here would be Brandon Ayuk, and I would take London quite a bit over Ayuk.
Yeah, same. For me, it's London.
Yeah, well, we can take both. We got 2 here, so
I'll let you take Drake London if you let me take TJ Hawkinson. How about that?
Yeah, let's roll with that. I like Hawkinson. I like the call because I could see him being this year's Andrews. I don't think that it's far fetched. And I don't want us to get sniped again. But I'll put it this way before we get to it, and I'll tease it right now. I love the week 17 correlation for the Lions. I really do. And they actually play the Eagles. It's either week 15 or 16, the Lions do. So we do get double correlation, hopefully. I
regret to inform you, the Lions get the Jets, Panthers, and Bears the final 3 weeks of the season, not counting week 18. Well, no Eagles there, but still, nonetheless, your point on the overall schedule and how it lines up is kind of nice because you're going to get pretty good discounts on the Jets, Panthers, and Bears. So if you want to stack that, nonetheless, it's still a pretty cheap stack to put together and correlate that way. I'm saying stacking, it's correlating. I'm new here.
Well, I'm messing up my, I'm sitting here talking so much about week 15 through 17, and then I'm forgetting certain teams. So, both of us get a pass here.
Yeah. We'll bump it up to the top of the draft board just if you can, Zach. We'll give a run through our roster so far. So at this point, people probably can see that we have no running backs. So we have Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Mike Williams, Lamar Jackson, Rashad Bateman, Drake London, and then TJ Hawkinson. And look, I think this year my rosters are going to live and die by TJ Hawkinson. That's going to be the way they go. He's at the moment my number 1 tight end drafted, and that's likely going to continue to be the way it is. I just think when we're looking at a round or half a round discount versus Schultz, I know you guys mentioned you just liked him, but then we're getting a almost 3-round drop on George Kittle and Darren Waller, and then we talked about the tight ends going above that. I just think it's such a great way to try and set up because I think he is, for me, that last potential elite tight end for these builds. So we have a run of quarterbacks recently since our pick. We have Trey Lance, then we have Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, and Dak Prescott. So we did take Lamar Jackson in that. The rating's very small, but that looks like the 4 or 5 turn there from what I can see. Maybe I need to
4 or 5.
Those eyes tested, but we are into that range. We can reveal, I think, at this point, it was no running backs before round 8. So at this turn, we will be eligible for some running back picks if we do so desire. Just for the branding and how things would look, it would be nice if we took it with the 2nd pick, which would leave it in the 9th round. But how are we feeling? How are we feeling at this point? I'm very comfortable with how things have played out so far, and I'm interested to see what options fall to us. Ideally, here, potentially a quarterback or two. I think at this point I'm passing because there's quite a few quarterbacks have gone, but there's one or two still of interest. But I think there's a number of running backs here that would pique my interest. So we'll probably have to play this close to the vest. But how are you feeling so far, Derek?
I mean, I like this team a lot. I really do. I love the fact that we still got into the. If TJ Hawkinson wouldn't have fallen to us, I would be not quite as happy, because when I'm going like true zero RB, I'm trying to get one of these. Obviously, you want the quarterbacks, you want to get the other elite positions, but I want an elite tight end. So I think that we were, and the way that I was walking into this was saying, okay, I hope we get Dalton Schultz or TJ Hawkinson. Those are the last two guys that I feel like could step into that top 3 range, and that's really what you're shooting for. And the way that the board fell, I would have loved to have gotten Dalton Schultz just because of the correlation with the Eagles. But that didn't happen. That's totally fine, because if we get to this point, I'm willing to correlate in another manner. It's a little bit early for what I might want to do, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of how the board falls. There's a few different guys I like down here.
Yeah, so we're 4 picks away. So I guess we can just open up, like, if you want to open up quarterback and running back. I mentioned Ayuk in the last round. He's still there, so I would still click him and add him into the queue just in case things don't play out just the way that we want. But if you can show us up just quarterback, just running back, Zach. So the quarterbacks would still be available if we're 2 picks away. Go back to the quarterbacks for me, sorry. Looking through that list, there's one name on that list that would be of interest at this point. Maybe 2 names, but we're 1 pick away. Any of those of interest, and then we have the 30 seconds to go if we want to look at running backs too. Bounce me back to running backs quickly, Zach. Yeah, I have 2 running backs here as well. I would be going with Devin Singletary as definitely one of these picks, and I'm open then to what you want to do with the other one.
I mean, if y'all are throwing it to me, I think it's early, but I would like to get Justin Fields here.
Yeah, Justin Fields is the name that was on my list, so I'm happy to.
He's not going to come back to us, so we're going to be pushing it. And honestly, that's the week 17 correlation that I was.
Well, we just got Tony Pollard, so we'll take Justin Fields.
No way.
Well,
you gotta please draft.
No one agreed on
Justin,
it. No
draft
one agreed
Justin
on
Fields
anybody.
before we lose him too, Zach. Come on.
Sorry, guys.
You didn't even take the running back in round 9. Like now we're frauds, and we got messed up by the draft board.
Colm suggested Devin Singletary. Debro said Justin Fields. By the time I did both to queue it up, it was.
I wasn't going to push back against Colm, but actually my pick would have been Tony Pollard over Devin Singletary.
Yeah, for me it would have been as well.
I can't believe you guys have planned this out behind my back before we started recording the show.
Colm, why didn't you play the? Why didn't you play the buzzer?
People, do not let them fool you. That had to be planned. I cannot believe that happened, and I can't believe that you went with. we could have just made it look better with the running back in round 9. But
oh man,
as a lover of running backs, I had to get it in.
Yeah, don't worry. Hawkinson might come back to us in the 10th round, which there's absolutely 0% chance. The other name that I mentioned was Melvin Gordon. He's just after going off the board also. But this is a range where, like, when we're making these 0 RB builds, there's a lot of options when we get to round 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 that are very, very nice when we're trying to build it out here. But Tony Pollard for me is somebody who I don't know if the Cowboys are ever fully going to just say that we are on Tony Pollard and Zeke, you can take a back seat. That's the one concern there. We've been on the Tony Pollard train for a number of seasons. I do think that Singletary, with what he showed last year and heading into this season, I think that, in that offense, we've seen for quite a number of years that the running backs have not really produced the amount of fantasy points that they should have. And at some point, that's going to flip a little bit. They're going to get those 1-yard rushing touchdowns, that they never seem to get, and things are going to balance out. But yeah, so far, I'm really happy. I would be just really delighted if it was Singletary rather than Pollard, and Fields had been taken a little bit earlier, and one pick earlier. But I'm joking at this point. But I think we have to be very pleased with how we started out and how we've ended up now with Hawkinson, Pollard, and Fields. Since we took the Fields pick, Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr have gone off the board. Carr is another one who is kind of interesting in this range for me, but I just think the rushing upside for Fields this year is through the roof. And to pair him with Lamar Jackson, I think like you've real high upside there for your quarterback position. So Singletary goes off the board at that point. How are we feeling now as my heart starts to, and my soul starts to come back to reality?
Well,
I love his team.
I think, yeah, the thing with me and Tony Pollard is, first of all, he had over 1,000 total yards from scrimmage last season, which I think is nice. He had 39 receptions, which I like that as well. He's still presumably the RB2 behind Zeke, worst case scenario, where if he misses time, then it probably comes to Tony Pollard show at that point, which we know could happen. And then on top of that, we do get a Dallas correlation with Philly by the Pollard ad. So for me, barring or getting rid of the whole preferred player scenario right there as far as Singletary is concerned, I think that Pollard has a lot of reason to have that upside that we need, just as a standalone player, but then also the way that he would fit our bill with the Week 16 correlation with Philly. So I really like Pollard here, actually.
Same. I love Pollard.
Don't show any remorse anyway, guys. No remorse.
I won't. I regret
none.
to inform you, currently Devin Singletary correlates with nobody in our lineup.
Yeah, we'll go. No,
we chose violence, Colm. Sorry.
It's more for me to. Zach will tell you. I like to, if something happens, I like to kind of play into the bet as much as possible. So that's what we're trying to do here. But no, I'm really pleased with how it's playing out. And even since that pick, although I did mention that we miss out on Melvin Gordon and Singletary, James Cook goes 2 picks after Singletary, who's somebody I'm still drafting, then Chase Edmonds. I do still think that there's going to be some options here for us when it does get back. And just looking through, I'm just looking here. Ayuk did go just before that Tony Pollard pick. I was kind of thinking, did he not go at this point? So we are 5 picks away. Zach, who are we hoping to get here?
We got a few players in here. Hold on 1 second. Let me get it refreshed. All right. Christian Watson would be a correlation with something I can't remember. I can't remember now. I'm a professional. Was it the Rams? Was it the Rams? Is it a Rams correlation?
I can't
think
believe
it is.
that.
Yeah,
something.
It's a Rams.
It's a Rams correlation. I think it's week 15.
15. Yeah, so that's a correlation. He's gone, luckily, so we don't have to worry about that. Pat Freiermuth, I actually do like a lot for the Baltimore correlation as well. I think that's pretty nice. We'd actually be closing a pretty good Baltimore correlation if we got Freiermuth. And then Rachaad White, just because we need running backs, and I personally love Rachaad White. I can't get enough of them. The floor is everyone else's for the next minute.
I'll let you go first,
I want
Steve,
you to
bro.
go down. I want you to start Isaiah Spiller.
When you're at it, you can start Ronald Jones as well, but we are on the clock.
Yeah, so
I want Isaiah Spiller to be one of the picks here. I don't think he'll come back. I think he gives us Chargers and Rams correlation.
He does. All right, let's make Isaiah Spiller, and then let's talk about this next one here.
Please pick him before we somehow get autoed 3 quarterbacks somehow. I don't know how that would happen because we have none in the queue, but
Spiller's in. All right, Spiller's in here. I like Freiermuth. We do still need a second tight end, and then the correlation purposes. But anyone else here?
I would lean to Rondell Moore or Ronald
I want
Jones.
Jameson Williams, dude.
You want Jameson Williams?
Yeah.
All right, I have no strong.
Is that too many wide receivers for you, Zach? I'm sorry.
No, I've actually would like to have 10 more so far. Let's go Jameson Williams here.
Yeah, well,
let's do it.
We'll let the guests take. It will be nice. We'll be pleasant.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to lay out the case? Do you want me to make the good case?
That he's a great player.
Well, yeah. We all know that.
No ACL. We obviously love that. Where are we going from there?
Missed the start of the season.
He could be the late season hammer, honestly.
He really could be.
We look at rookie wide receivers, and I'm going to hearken to a lot of the fantastic work that J.J. Zachary has done, and that rookie wide receivers are vastly underrated, especially their stretch run performances. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of my best ball stuff, and I'm looking for ceiling and BBM3, these large field tournaments, I'm gravitating to these week 15 through 17 correlations that could offer me that late season hammer. Jameson Williams is one, and dude, his ceiling's not even priced into where he's going. It's ridiculous how
definitely. Going. He shouldn't be going at this point of draft.
No, and he correlates with Hockenson and Justin Fields for us for week 17. So if that game shoots out, if Hockenson has a low game and Jameson Williams just balls out, there's a lot of different paths there. But I think his ceiling's not even close to being factored into his ADP.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think when we're looking at some of the rookies post NFL draft, some of them did get that bounce. And even like Williams, they all got bounces in terms of ADP, but it hasn't settled where it's going to settle. And I'm still looking at these players that are first and second year players, so rookies and sophomores, who when we hit training camp and all of a sudden those clips are coming out, those ADPs are going to start to rise. We're going to see, well, maybe not as much with him, depending on how much they have him out there, how things are looking. But as you mentioned at the end of the season, I think that's not going to be priced in. Something Sean Siegel talks a lot about is trying to have that roster that if it was, redrafted in week 10, that you would have, 10 top 5 round picks kind of thing. And I think that's what you're shooting for there with him. Really like the Spiller pick as well, but we probably, and this sounds ridiculous, coming from my side of the table here, but we probably do need some other options for, we don't know if he is going to start the season as a person with standalone value. I would expect him to do so, but I think that they are going to go heavily with Austin Eckler to start things out here. But really, really like him in terms of if anything happens to Eckler. How do you feel about him starting the season? Are you pretty confident like week 1, week 2, we see 2 to 3 targets going his way? We see some potential red zone work going his way?
I think he's going to have a standalone role from week 1. I really do. And I think that the thing that I love about, and I was still comfortable going another wide receiver for correlation here, is that all we need for these 2 running backs, if Eckler goes down, Zeke goes down. Both of these running backs are going to be weekly RB1s. That's where you'd be ranking them. Like Joshua Kelly's not taking work away. Larry Roundtree's not taking work away. Tony Pollard's not fighting with anybody in that backfield. They would both be legitimate top 10 running backs. And we would be like, okay, well, neither one of them are ever leaving the lineup outside of bye weeks then.
Anything to add, Zach? Or are you pretty...
No, I'm honed in trying to figure out this queue here. I agree with Derek. Smart guy. Talked to him a lot. I agree with him.
And I just
analysis over.
Yeah.
This was one time where after we went the last time, I was thinking I'll just give Zach that little moment before we actually get him to show us the queue to make sure we have something set up. So how's the queue looking this time, Zach?
Not too bad. I think you guys would be pretty proud.
This is the first time you haven't said, "Oh, it's god awful."
Yeah. Trying to grow throughout the show. We've got Rachaad White still on the board, who I like. I like Darrell Henderson, Michael Carter. Jets gives us that another Detroit correlation there. We are still in need of a second tight end. I don't think you're going to need any pushback from Colm on Albert O. Big RotoViz guy. Goodbye, Albert. And
right as you mentioned him.
And then I also have Jalen Tolbert in there, who I think I think at least Derek and I like Jalen Tolbert. I think Tolbert's an absolute baller. So I'm big on him here as well. But then anything else we'd be looking at? I'll pull up tight ends here real quick, just because it's getting thin. We don't want a week 6 tight end. So Everett and Higbee would even both be options here.
Yeah, Everett's the one. Now I don't know how you feel. Are we looking a little bit early here for him? But
can we take Rachaad White?
Rachaad White is the pick. Yeah, for me.
I like White.
Okay, I'm gonna let this one time out here just so we can get another one.
He goes. So the other thing that I'm also, it's not a massive thing, but I'm also mindful when I do build 0 RB teams or RB where I'm basically, even if I go bimodal, the backup guys I'm looking at, am I layering bye weeks? So if I'm looking at this right on this tiny screen, we have week 8, week 9, right?
Yeah.
So
we got 11.
Rachaad White fits there. So now we're looking at, if we're drafting running backs, no 8, 9, or 11.
The other running back that I'm interested in that's in this range is Kenneth Gainwell. Don't know how you feel about him. I don't know if we want to go at this point. I don't think Jalen Tolbert's going to make the difference, whereas I could be completely wrong. That's why I would be going and getting Gainwell.
Who is it? 9 seconds. 9 seconds. Gainwell.
Let's go with Gainwell.
Oh, shoot. I just got Darrell Henderson.
You're lucky that you're joking, are you?
I was like, we didn't plan that one.
I'm not actually joking. It looked like the screen froze for
It froze. And
I was like, I have it on another screen, which it doesn't update unless I refresh it.
I was just about to end the live stream at that point. So I legitimately thought that it was possible.
I picked them on the other screens just to freak you out.
Goodness gracious. So let's just run through the players so far. So we have Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields as our quarterbacks.
Here,
I
hold
think
on.
there's no we're done with quarterback at that particular point. Then we have Tony Pollard, Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White, and Kenneth Gainwell, who I think that's really starting to round us into a nice spot there with basically a nice core of running backs. We'll get our, you'll get the Twitter comments that say we don't, they like our wide receivers, but our wide receivers are very much to be liked, and that is Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Mike Williams, Rashad Bateman, Drake London, and Jameson Williams. So that is quite a bit of firepower. And then we have TJ Hawkinson as well. So we do need to see what our options are, but there's a couple of options, and I hope at least one of them lasts back here to this round. But a few people, and I know we've been kind of saying that, I think subliminary, myself and Derek have been kind of saying it between our words as to who one of those targets maybe, and he did go off the board 2 picks later. So I feel like Gerald Everett was definitely going to be an option for you there as a tight end, Derek. Am I right?
Yep, he was definitely going to. I was going to ask Zach to add him in the queue, the one that's on the other screen that people can't see, not the one that's here. Just so we're clear. Since Zach has multiple queues that he's playing from.
Yes.
I like Everett. He would have been one of the targets here. I don't want to talk the table too much. I'm going to sit here and get sad that we're going to get sniped. I have one running back that's kind of standing out to me as well.
But we can probably pass on Craig Reynolds here. We can get him later.
No. Craig is a last round hero, my friend. Craig is putting on the Superman cape. Not all heroes wear capes, but Craig's do. He'll be a last round selection for us.
All right, let me take a look at the queue here. There is a player who I found who meets one of our needs at tight end. There's a slight correlation there. We'll see.
He just found him. He found him.
Yeah, I was just digging around. I found him. He was sitting there. He might make it back to us.
At the top of the ADP queue.
Yeah, I found him at the top of the ADP queue. I've never heard of this guy, but no, I did find a player who I do kind of like, so I went ahead and queued him up for the tight end position. There's no bye week conflict, so we'll talk about him in a second here. We currently have we're currently sitting on 2, 4, 6, 1. We're 6 picks away. Assuming that one of the guys we get is tight end here, are we looking to go running back? We got a couple guys here. I know who Debro's going to be pining for.
One of my running back picks here. If he makes it back to us, and it's another guy that I think that week 1 walks in here and he's got to roll. And if that's a goal line roll, I think he could be the top range of his outcomes. And this obviously is like a 2% outcome, but I think he could be this year's Damian Harris if he falls to us.
I hope it's not the guy who's in the queue right now.
It is not the guy who is in the queue.
Oh,
right
good.
Although I love him, I don't know why you hate him.
He was like a healthy scratch last season.
Why do you hate Mark Ingram? Tell me that.
Well, first of all,
on a 0 RB team.
They entertained David Johnson. Can we take David Njoku as one of them? He would be a Baltimore correlation. Is that?
Yeah, I'm not. Would you rather Higbee over Njoku, Derek?
I'm never been a Tyler Higbee person.
Yeah.
I get the correlation. I get the correlation, Colm. So if you want Higbee, I won't stand in your way.
I'll let Zach make the pick, and he can disappoint me again.
he made that pick really quick.
Yeah. We take
right, hold on. We got 20 seconds. Who's your running back that you
TDP.
want?
Or did he go?
He's gone.
Dang it, he went.
Right.
Now we'll see who's under pressure, Zach.
I mean,
go up.
Wendell Robinson. Make Wendell Robinson the pick. Down. Don't miss him. Down. There.
Oh.
There.
Oh, we're going to get autoed. Draft him.
I got him.
Woo.
I got him.
Yes.
I didn't think it was possible. I've never moved so quickly in my life.
Oh, I can't believe that. What?
And the best part is really it was like
skills live, baby.
We were getting down to like midnight, and we were about to be stuck with Mark Ingram. And,
oh my goodness!
Which I know is Derek's guy. But
but last round, not here, man, not here.
Well, we're not even going to get him last round. His ADP is 179 now. He's gone. He'll be gone.
Oh, is he? He's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, they must have updated. Okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
I cannot believe. I
the
did not
propaganda
know
is
they were
spreading
gonna-
on Mark Ingram, and it's really.
I know.
Getting the
I've
people.
planted the flag deep, and it's been waving over the
All right.
holiday weekend.
All right, back to the draft board so we can hide our picks
Oh
here.
my
But
goodness!
continue on. This is the
God,
highlight
I
of my
wanted
week.
TDP.
Early Tuesday.
There's
That
so much
snipe
progression.
hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was the first pick we were going to get there, so that was very disappointing
Darn
to miss out in TDP. Would have fitted this roster perfectly as well. So, but yeah,
That hurts. I was hoping for TDP, but I like Wandell, and the reason I keep going with I threw this out on Twitter. If you're going Justin Jefferson, you're going Dalvin Cook. There's a lot of easy correlations between Minnesota, the Colts, the Giants over the last 3 weeks of the season. I like Wandell Robinson just because look, if Kadarius Toney doesn't fire, if he doesn't hit, Wandell's the next guy for me in line. I'm not drafting Dusty Kenny Golladay. I'm not drafting Sterling Shepard, although I love him coming off an Achilles. I'm not drafting those guys. So it's really narrow if I'm going Giants. It's Barkley, it's Wandell, or it's Kadarius, and that's it. Log out, unless you're talking about dimes as well. But I mean, for our purposes, I really love Wandell here.
it was just for the build. I do think the TDP pick would have been perfect, and
It would have been perfect.
but we'll see now how things come back to us. There is still a lot of interesting players left and available. My thing with David Njoku is I'm just amazed at how much money he managed to get paid based on how many receptions he has in his NFL career. But maybe this is the year, Zach. Is that what we're feeling?
Who was that? Njoku?
Yeah.
This is the year.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the year that he was kind of done so badly by the Browns. The fact that he's even still on the team is kind of amazing to me because they went out and they could have kind of given him a chance to actually perform and play as the T1. And instead they just went out and they got Austin Hooper, who was a colossal failure, if I'm putting it nicely, in terms of what they paid him and then what he returned for them. So we know David Njoku is an athletic freak. We know what he's capable of when healthy. Now he's finally getting a shot. The unfortunate part of it for him might be that he might not have a great quarterback throwing them for half the season. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I'm all in on David Njoku, so I like him late.
That's okay. We'll be starting TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson will be starting every week, so we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Are we confident enough then, Zach and him, to say that we're going with a 2 tight end build, or are we trying to wrap it up here with a third one?
I just want 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks,
and Brian Robinson.
And Brian Robinson for my hometown, Washington Commanders. I love my commies.
Can't get TDP, can't get Mark Ingram, but Lord, we can easily get Brian Robinson. Huh. Love how that worked out.
Can we take him? Can we take him, guys?
Playing to the host. I mean, are you going to let me say no? I don't think I really have a choice.
Derek, he doesn't even have the same bye week as any of our running backs. Look at that.
See, this is, it's all, now I'm feeling like I'm being ambushed, Colm. Fine, take B Rob.
All right, we're going to let this one time out. Who after that?
Who are we looking at after that? I'm not too pushed on either guy in the queue, but how are we feeling?
Yeah. What round are we in?
We're heading into we're heading into round 17 now.
So we have a naked Justin Fields.
Yeah. Oh, you want to get a bear? Let's do a bear.
Can we get my dude Ebner?
You want Tristan Ebner?
Yep, that's who I want. That's exactly who I want.
All right.
And then I'll make the pick for everybody.
I don't mind.
No, we're not going with Velus Jones. We're going with really, really talented players.
Why don't you, Derek, real quick, for the folks who don't know, give us the rub on Tristan Ebner, because he is a guy who a lot of people have not seen us draft on any of these shows. One, because he's a Bear, and two, because we just don't know a lot about him at this point in time. So give us a rub on Tristan Ebner and why we should be considering him in the last pick or second to last pick of our drafts.
Because he's hashtag good at football, guys. I mean, to be honest, I like Ebner because he won in a large field tournament like BBM3. You're only going to get what, 1%, 2% that maybe have him rostered. Ebner makes a lot of sense for multiple different spots. I love his talent, first of all, because he jumps off the page in different metrics. He's legit, and you can make a really easy case for him. And I'm sorry, Brees Hall stands. I apologize. You can make a really easy case. He was the most talented receiving back in this draft class. Yes, I understand he fell to the 6th round, but if you look at his receiving profile, it is legit nuts. He's been top 10, top 12 in yards per route run in each of the last 4 seasons at Baylor. He fits the outside zone running scheme. He is also big enough to handle a 3-down workload. I think he's 5'10", 210. And you marry all of this. If he hits, guys, I think he's going to catch a ton of passes. Montgomery and Herbert are not plus receivers. Yes, I know Montgomery's been used in the passing game, but that still doesn't make him good at it. So I like Ebner because if he hits, he has a chance to be a 3-down guy down the stretch if injury strikes. But if he hits, I really think he could be this team's pseudo Naheem Hines in that he catches a bunch of passes. The Bears are going to up their screen rate this year, and I think Ebner is going to be a big beneficiary of that. And honestly, if I'm looking at him more as a receiving talent, it's basically getting a wide receiver in your running back spot, and it correlates with Justin Fields and all of our Lions.
You mentioned there Naheem Hines. What I heard you talking about was Matt Forte 2.0. That was kind of what I heard you talking about.
I mean, I threw it out there. He's Elijah Mitchell 2022.
So, no, I think like at this point, we're taking those kind of upside shots, and based on the profile that you're after discussing, hopefully it's going to work out here for us. But as we look to wrap things up, Brian Robinson used to be that final pick. Now he is the 3rd from final pick. Probably by the time week 1 comes around, he's going to be a top 12 pick at the rate that Zach is single-handedly moving that ADP up. But I'm really pleased with how things are playing out. We didn't, in hindsight, the Pollard pick could be the difference. So I'm not too bothered with that. I just wish that we had swapped him and Fields' pick. Just it's very silly of me, but that's the one thing but I think at this point, Derek, that Wendell Robinson pick, I think we have to say that Zach has really stepped up the game over that kind of 3 or 4 picks from there. That was really impressive.
It was, it's nice to see flexing the nerd muscles on the stream here with the scrolling and the clicking as fast as he did. Personally, I probably would have choked under the pressure, so props to the host here. It's not easy to be a number 1 host and work in the queue at the same time. We've all had the struggles there. That's the last nice thing that I'm going to say about Zach for the rest of the stream.
And it's not about, as Rocky would say, you just have to keep moving forward. And we had that error, earlier in the draft, but you were able to battle through it and show your true colors as we got that Wendell Robinson pick. It will be hilarious if this team goes and does something and Wendell Robinson is the difference maker, because that will just be amazing. We are into the last pick territory. We will be the last pick of the draft. How are we looking here? There's a couple of options here in the queue, and obviously there's a Bears option there who may I'll say there's one Bears option there. There's 2 Bears players in the queue.
Yeah, there are.
So how are we feeling here? I cannot, it feels weird to think that Visca is going undrafted in these, which I think is a little bit harsh when we see the company that's going at this particular point of the draft, although last year didn't work. I would be open to him or Pringle probably here as my 2 options, but I'm willing to let you make the final call.
Go down a little bit, Zach. I'm trying to see who else is here.
Do we just need a wide receiver? I don't think we need more running backs. All right, let me do this.
Yeah, I'm in between Pringle. I would go Pringle or Terrace Marshall, but I think Pringle makes sense for the Fields team.
Yeah, that's what I'd be saying.
All right, let's do Pringle. Hopefully I get this one right.
He's going to click on James Washington.
We did. We got it. We did
it. We made it. We've taken a deep breath. We got there.
We did it.
I think we'll run through the team here. I think it's in a really nice position. Really pleased with how things have played out. But yeah, it's interesting when you get to the end of these boards, and you talked about Tristan Ebner and how much he will actually be drafted in this format. But we look at the end there, and I know players are injured, the likes of Odell Beckham, for example. But in this draft, him, Laviska Shenault, there's a lot of other names that are going undrafted, and like sub 1%. I think some of these players are going to end up being, especially the rookie players who people are looking at past production and not trying to get those on their roster. So you can differentiate quite easily in those later rounds as well. How are we feeling here as we run through it? Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Tony Pollard, Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White, Kenneth Gainwell, Brian Robinson, Tristan Edner, and then we have Cooper Kupp, Brown, Mike Williams, Rashad Bateman, Drake London, Jameson Williams, Wendell Robinson, and Byron Pringle, and then we have TJ Hawkinson and David Njoku. Man, those wide receivers they're flaming hot. And there's a couple of different stacks in there. We have Lamar and we have him stacked obviously with Bateman, but then we have Pringle mixed in with Fields, and then we have the running back and Ebner mixed in with Fields. So I think it's pretty nice looking. And as I'll say, you guys more than me were keeping us on top of some of those playoff correlations as things played out. But how are you feeling, Derek, as we look at the team now in the cold light of day?
I love this team. I really do. I love this team. I think that we stacked a lot of Week 17 correlation. And really, the other part about it is not just to correlate or not reaching for correlations, but if you're making bets, we're talking about making correlated bets here. Okay, how many things do I have to get right? I'm going to select 9 different players that play 9 different teams, and hopefully they all shoot out. Okay, or you make 1 or 2 correlated bets. So basically in this team, we made bets that the Chargers and the Rams shoot out, the Eagles and the Cowboys shoot out, the Lions and the Bears shoot out, and we leaned into those things pretty heavily. Like if you look at how we have this team correlated, I mean, and the thing that I love about it is that it's the main bets that we made out of the team. Like with us paying up for Cooper Kupp, we laced it with Chargers around that. Same thing can be said for Mike Williams. Same thing can be said for our RB1 and our wide receiver 2. So it's not just correlate to correlate. So you could post it on Twitter and be like, look at all these teams I got together. It's if you're making big bets on the guys that you're paying up for the draft capital, then how are you correlating around them? Because that's the core of your team. These are the players that if you're saying, okay, I'm going to take down BBM3, I'm going to sit there and be Scrooge McDuck in my way all offseason, I'm going to be backstroking in money, baby, the millions are coming, then you need to make bets around the players that you're paying up for. Saying, okay, they're going to smash, and while they smash in the playoffs, who's coming with them? And so I love the way we built this team.
I think it's come out really well. You mentioned the correlation. Something that we've talked a lot about recently is getting those correlations and trying to get those stacks, but not overpaying for them. So we'll see a lot of teams like take Cooper Kupp in the first round, so they're trying to force that Matthew Stafford pick in, which I think is completely the wrong approach. And I know we have taken early with the back-to-back picks for Lamar and Bateman, but I think, again, the price is a little bit different. You're not having to reach as much then to get that quarterback. So I think things played out quite well for us. We had really, throughout the draft, there's only really 2 times I think we kind of got sniped. And the one that we didn't get, which you actually had planned before, was the Tony Pollard one. The other one then was the TDP one that we didn't get as well.
I really wanted him for this team. I would have loved that. But honestly, and this is the other part about with zero RB teams, and I love the running backs that we got, because each one of these guys, outside of Ebner, but you look at these other guys, if an injury strikes, if the range of outcomes changes on these players, Zeke goes down, Tony Pollard's a top 5 running back every single week. Talked about it before. Isaiah Spiller's a top 12 back. Rashad White, if Lenny goes down, he's going to be a top 20 back. And I mean, we could just keep going down the list. Like Gainwell he's going to be a top 24 back, and so on and so forth. Brian Robinson would be a top 50 running back if Antonio Gibson goes down. So there's that.
You want to definitely get them in that top 50 range for your running backs. If anything between between 2 points per game to 10 points per game is what I'm chasing personally.
If Gibson misses the entire season, Brian Robinson's definitely, a top 62 running back.
Yeah. He's somewhere on the board, flex territory and bye weeks.
It is. This is all going to come back to bite us really bad because Robinson's going to have a great season and Zach is going to be doing victory laps for the next couple of years over it. But Zach, how are you feeling with how the draft has played out?
Well, I wouldn't be doing victory laps because at this point in time, I'm so heavily invested in Brian Robinson that I'd be too rich for victory laps. I would just simply log off and you never hear from me again.
He's just gonna ride. He's gonna ride circles in a golf cart that he just purchased.
Yes, exactly. But no, I like this team. I really like it a lot. I think the quarterbacks have really fun upside and just you get to add the rushing element into both of them, which I think is pretty exciting. I agree with everything Debro said in terms of the paths that these running backs we took have to potential top territory, of course, including Brian Robinson and that. And I mean, I just think the correlations are fun. I don't think you're going to see nearly as many teams correlating things like Bears and Lions out there, which I think kind of adds to it and makes it fun to track over the course of the year. And then guys like Wan'Dale Robinson could very easily turn into the kind of Kadarius Toney type player we briefly enjoyed last season as well. So yeah, I mean this team's pretty explosive looking on paper. If this works out in real life, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Have you the team written out on paper as well as on your computer screen?
What's that?
I said, do you have the team written out on paper as well as on your computer screen? You just said it looks good on paper, but I can only see it on the computer screen.
Oh, yeah. No, I wrote it out on a notepad for the boomers.
So before we do,
go
ahead.
Hold the hell up. Seriously? Excuse you? You need to get outside and touch some grass, sir.
Yeah, we need to get the fingers in the dirt.
I'm allergic.
As we do get ready to start to close things off, we've talked a lot about those unsexy stacks. We're stacking those Jets, stacking those Lions, stacking the Bears, getting access to those correlations at much cheaper prices. So we'll see how this team plays out. We did a lot of that here today. We mentioned at the start of the stream, but you can follow Derek on Twitter at Debro_FFB. You can find all his work over at Fantasy Pros and check out their redraft kit and his team series that is ongoing at the moment. So check out all that. But anything else, Derek, you want to mention before we close out here?
That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, look, we're all in the best ball streets, try to max out these tournaments and get exposure to guys. I mean, we've hammered on the points of correlation, and I think that we kind of get caught in our little Twitter bubble and stuff like that a little bit too much in the sense of like we think everybody's correlating like this. They're not. Look at the draft boards. It does not matter. They're not. So we all think that we're doing this and everybody's doing this. They're really not. So keep doing this for your large field tournaments. And yeah, I mean, everything on Fantasy Pros, man, we're pushing out a monstrous amount of content daily. Best ball kit, redraft kit. You can hear my loud ass on the podcast 3 to 4 times a week, depending on where I'm rotating on and off. So appreciate it, guys. This was a lot of fun. Zero RB truthers.
Rejoice.
Unite.
So yeah, it was really fun, and I just realized too we have the _FFB twins on the show as well. With you can follow Zach over there on Twitter at ZK_FFB also. But check out all his work as well over at NBC Sports Edge, and of course you can check out my work on the RotoViz Radio airwaves. You can follow me on Twitter at OverTimeIreland. Let us know in the comments below what you thought we did wrong, what you thought we did right on today's draft. We're happy to look and talk to some of those. I'm sure people will love those wide receivers, but maybe not love those running backs quite as much. But we are in a good spot. But thanks a lot to Debro for joining us. Thanks for everyone who watched in and watched along. And until we're back yet again, have a good one.